Hi friends, welcome again to my channel Go Digital Get IT right here. In this video, I'll be talking about data structures in Python, why do we use it, how it is helpful, and we'll talk about the first data structure, which is lists. So let's talk about data structures. So data structures are variables which can hold more than one value at a time. It turns out to be helpful when we have to save a lot of values at the same time. For example, an organization has 1,000 employees. It may not be a good idea to create 1,000 different variables for all the employees to make it to run things programmatically. It will be difficult to keep a track of which variable belongs to which employee, and it makes things complex. Instead, I can use a data structure which helps me to store multiple values in a single variable. If we have to compare data structures to a real world, things can become really complex and messy if we don't organize our data in a proper way, which might look like the cupboard on the left. However, by introduction of data structures, things look much more organized and well accessible, and it becomes easy for me to work on the data saved within the data structures. So we'll be talking about four data structures. The first one is the lists, which is a Python data structure to hold multiple values at the same time. Second one is tuples, which are just like lists, but they're immutable. The third one is the sets. This is an unordered collection of objects which can be iterable but do not contain any duplicate elements. And the fourth one is dictionaries, which has a lot of key value pairs. All right, so let's talk about the first one, which is list. Okay, so let's learn how to create a list. So before that, what exactly is a Python list? Python list is a data structure which can contain more than one value at a time. A value in the list is generally referred to as an item or an element. Now, how do we syntactically create a Python list? By using square brackets. And each item in a Python list is separated by a comma. So let's try to make a list, and I'll call it as names, where I have different names saved in one data structure. So list is created by a square bracket. So I'll start a square bracket and start entering the names and save it in this list called names. So the first name I gave is Johnson, Andrew, Steve, and one more name I can give it Mark. And if I have to give one more name, maybe I can give it Michael. So this, I just created a list which has 5 names. If I print names, it will print the elements of the list, right? Now each element is separated by a comma. That's how Python identifies the different elements of a list. If I do a type of names, this will tell me it's a list. Fair enough? Now, a list can hold values of different data types together. For example, I want to hold the different information about a doctor. So I'll name the list as doctor list, and I save different values about the doctor. For example, I'll first add the name of a doctor. So let's say Ravi, and then I will add the second name of the doctor. Let's say I will write Shukla. Okay, and the third element would be the age of a doctor. Let's say he's 40 years of age. The third element would be his qualification. Let's say he is a cardiologist. Oops, cardiologist. Okay, and the next parameter is I want to capture the mean number of patients that he attends on a day. Let's say he attends 12.78 number of patients on an average in a day, right? And let's say I also type the hospital for which he works for. Let's say I give an arbitrary name, MMM. So this is the hospital name for which he works for. Okay. Now all we need to observe here is I have just created a list which has data of different data types. It has a few integer, it has a few float, it has a few character as well, and still it does not complain about it. It simply creates the list, and if we try to print the list, I can easily see the elements. So what was a string remains a string, what was an integer remains an integer, what was a float remains a float. Now let's talk about an important aspect of a list, which is extracting elements out of a list, or which is also called slicing the elements from a list. Now let's say there is a list here which has 7 items. Now each item is represented with an index, which is nothing but the position number of the element. So index always begins with 0 in case of Python. Now if we look at this index of this particular list, so it begins with 0 and goes all the way till 6 because we have 7 elements. If I have to extract item 3, I will have to refer to index number 2. So list with the index number 2 will be item 3. Similarly, the list and the index number 4 will be item 5. Now, along with this, Python also represents the elements of a list using a negative index. So it begins from the right and goes all the way till the left. So it's the other way around. But this time it begins with negative of 1. So minus 1 represents the last item, and minus 7 in this case represents the first item. Okay? Now if I have to extract certain elements out of this, for example, let's say I want to extract item 3, item 4, and item 5. These are the 3 elements which I want to extract from the list. So I can extract it by referring the index, either the positive index or the negative index. So in this case, to extract these 3 elements, I would refer the elements from index number 2 till 5. The reason I go till 5 is because the last index, the last element is always one lesser than the index that we are referring to. Okay, so if I have to extract item 3, item 4, and item 5, I'll begin with 2, but I'll go all the way till 5 because Python extracts one element lesser than the index which I refer. So in this case, it's going to be list 2 colon 5. This means extract the items from index number 2 till index number 4. Or I can also represent it using the negative index. So that would be list square brackets negative of 5 colon negative of 2. Fair enough. Let's try to do that in a Jupyter. Okay. Now I will create another list, maybe a list of friends. And let's say I will have the names of friends. I'll say Maria, and I would say, let's say Kathy, and the third friend is Selena, followed by Mary, followed by um, Catherine, right? How many do I have? I have five. Maybe I would need two more. I would say Jennifer, and followed by Sandra. So I just created a list which has the names of 7 friends. If I do a type of this, it will tell me it's a list. And I can just print it again to be sure that it has captured the names as defined. Fair enough. Now let's say I want to figure out the number of elements I have in this list. So the output should be 7 because I have manually counted it. But if I want to extract it programmatically, I will pass the name of the list within the function len. So this will tell me the total number of elements that I have in the list. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe this channel. This will encourage us to upload further more such videos. Thank you. Python has created the list with these elements, and internally it's tracking these elements with an index. So this would have been assigned an index of 0 followed by 1, 2 and so on. Finally, the index of the last element would be 6 because I have 7 elements out of it. Now, in case I want to extract the name Selena from this, I'll have to refer to the index 2. So let's try to do that. Okay. Um, so if I write friends and separate by a square bracket and I refer to the element number 3, sorry, element 2, which is the element with an index 2. Now if I run this, it will extract me Selena because that's the element which has been internally saved as the element with index 2. Similarly, if I type friends square bracket and I type 6, so I believe all of you would agree with me if I say this would extract the last element of the list, which is Sandra, because the index of the last element is 6. What happens if I try to go beyond the index? For example, I try to extract element number 12, which is not present in my list. So this would give me an exception saying that the index I'm referring to is out of range. Right? So this is the message which denotes that I'm referring to the index which is actually not there in the list. Right. I'll remove this. Now, let's say I'm interested to extract elements from Selena all the way till Catherine. So this is these are the set of elements which I want to extract. So basically, I want to extract elements from index number 2, 3, 4. So these are the three elements which I want to extract, which has an index of 2, 3, and 4. Let's see how exactly I can do that. Now, in order to do that, I'll have to refer by their index. So I'll write friends. I separate I write a square bracket, and then from here I write the starting point, the starting index of the element which I want to extract, and add 1 to the last index of the element which I want to extract. So in this case, it's going to be 2 colon, and the index I want to extract is Catherine, which is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll write 5. So this would extract Selena, Mary, and Catherine, which is 2, 3, and 4. Okay. Now, if I have to refer this using the negative index, so if I look at the indexing which happens in a negative way, so this is referred to as minus of 1, this is referred to as minus of 2, and that's how it goes on till minus of 7. Now I'm interested in these elements, so which is nothing but this would be minus of 5 and this would be minus of 3. So does that mean I'll have to refer minus of 5 colon minus of 2? That's right. So let's try to do that. Okay. So now I'll try to extract the same elements, but this time I will refer them through the negative indexing, which is minus of 5 goes till minus of 2. So this extracts me the exact same elements but with the help of negative index. Thank you so much for listening to me patiently. We'll continue on lists in our next video. Stay tuned. Thank you.